So the lesson is that if Prabhupada had not been given that instruction, he wouldn't have gone. Therefore, he gives all the credit to the Guru. He ordered me to do it, so I did it. He gets the credit. So I understood this is the mentality of a disciple. We never take the credit for ourselves, but we give the credit to those persons who are deserving. So I want to just share, before I get into the next part of my talk, I just want to share one thing about this prophecy. We have seen that this prophecy has come true, that the holy names have been chanted all over the world. That you recognize, that you understand. Probably what you don't know or didn't think about was that you all were part of the prophecy. Each and every one of you. The reason is because there cannot be any chanting of the holy names of the Lord unless there's people to do the chant. So because we became the people that did the chanting, we are part of the prophecy. We helped fulfill that prophecy by just being there. So that's the wonderful thing. We are part of that prophecy. It's a glorious thing. It's an amazing thing. So Lord Chaitanya prophesied that over 500 years ago. 100 years went by, 200 years went by, 300 years went by, 400 years went by, and still the Kirtan was only in India. So Vaishnavas began to think that maybe the whole world is just India. The rest of the world doesn't count. Bharatvarsha, it's only India. But Prabhupada had a different mentality, and he explained it one time to us. He said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prophesied that this chanting would go all over the whole world, and he is God. Therefore, it must become true. Which means that there must be people all over the world just waiting for someone to come so they can receive the holy names. So he decided, my Guru Maharaj ordered me, so I'm going to have complete faith in the order of Guru and complete faith in the order or the prophecy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so at great difficulty, he endeavored to come to the West. And he was right. He arrived in New York. He struggled for a while, finally set up a little matchless gift storefront that we saw in the film. And then he was invited to come to San Francisco, and he flew for the first time on an airplane. January 1967 to San Francisco. And when he arrived in the airport, it was filled with hippies and a few devotees, and they were all chanting Hare Krishna to greet him. And he thought, wow, the people, they're here. It's correct what Rupa Goswami said. There are people waiting for someone to come to give them the holy name. So, in the beginning, Prabhupada considered this an impossible mission. As a grihasta, he meditated on the order of his Guru Maharaj to spread the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English-speaking countries, in the English-speaking language. So he would go regularly to Advaita Bhavan in Shantipur. And he would sit at the back of the temple room there and he would chant his japa. And once a month he would come. And gradually the pujari noticed, oh, this very nice Vaishnava, he's coming regularly. And so after some time he approached Prabhupada and they spoke and they became friends. And he was always thinking, my friend. Then he stopped coming. Many years went by. And then one day, he saw at the back of the temple room a sannyasi. And this sannyasi was chanting japa, and there were tears in his eyes. And he was chanting, practically crying. You know that Prabhupada says in his introductory recording that we should chant like the child crying for his mother. So he wasn't just talking, he was chanting like that. So the pujari was thinking, who is this sannyasi? So he came closer and he said, oh, it's my friend. So he approached, well, he waited till Prabhupada had finished and come forward to take closer darshan. And he asked, you've taken sannyas? Yes. Why you were crying? My Guru Maharaj has given me an impossible mission. Really? Yes, impossible mission. Well, what is that? He has ordered me to spread the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Western countries. And the pujari said, impossible mission. And he embraced him. And then he didn't see him for many years. And about 7 or 8 years later, the pujari saw something that he had never seen before in Advaita Bhavan. And that was Western people. But these Western people were dressed like Vaishnavas, with tilak and traditional dress. They had bead bags. He was amazed. And he just stood there in amazement as they came to offer respects. And when they were leaving, one of the Matajis handed him a magazine. And when they left, he opened it up and he saw Prabhupada's picture. It's my friend. He did it. He accomplished the impossible mission. He was amazed. And how did Prabhupada do it? Just with a pair of kartals. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada had complete faith in the power of the holy name. And we're not just saying that because he's our guru. We're not just saying that out of sentiment. But whenever Prabhupada, wherever he went, whenever people would say, you've done an amazing job. Whatever country he'd go to, they'd say, this is wonderful. How you've been able to spread it all over the world. He never took the credit. And he always quoted one shloka. Kali kaler dharma harinam sankirtan Krishna shakti vina nahi tar pravartan. That the dharma of the Kali Yuga is harinam sankirtan. And without being empowered by Krishna, no one can present the holy name of the Lord. No one can spread it all over the world. So we're empowered by the holy name because we're authorized. Authorized means, as Prabhupada explained in the film this morning, that the Guru and Krishna have given us the order to spread the teachings all over the world. In 1976, in November, I had a private darshan with Srila Prabhupada, about 10, 15 minutes. And he said very many, we discussed different things. Well, I'll share one of the things is because, again, it's something nobody knows. But myself and Satyanarayan Prabhu, we went to Kashmir, which is 80% Muslim, and we distributed full sets of Prabhupada's books in all the Muslim colleges and universities. So when we came back, we wanted to share that with Srila Prabhupada. So I informed Srila Prabhupada that I should skip ahead first. While I was there, one time, coming back from a college, having distributed a full set of Prabhupada's books, coming back in the rickshaw to where we were staying, I noticed out of the corner of my eye a sign that said library. So immediately I said to the rickshawala, stop. And I got down. Of course, I walked back and I saw it said Oriental Library. Those days, of course, I was brahmachari. And we traveled with a briefcase. We had photos of ISKCON's worldwide mission, recommendations from scholars, reviews, and we were distributing full sets. So I walked in and I started looking on the shelves, and there was amazing books, old shastras in Sanskrit, in Pali, in Kashmiri language, which I don't know, but the script, you can tell by the script. So while I was looking, the librarian got up and he came toward me and said, "Can I help you?" So I gave him my card. The card said, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Vaiyasaki Das Brahmachari, and in the corners it said London, New York, Los Angeles, and Bombay. Impressive. So he looked at the card. "Oh, can I help you?" So I handed him a Bhagavatam. I said, "Yes, we're distributing these books, translated by my Guru Maharaj. Be perfect for your library." So he looked at it. He said, "Oh, I think we have this already." And I remember what Prabhupada had taught us. He said, salesmanship begins when they say no. So I said, "Oh, no, it's impossible. These books were just printed in America. They've only arrived in America. There's no way that you have them, but you should have them." So he said, "Well, let me check. Let me go in the back and check." So he went, I waited about 5 or 10 minutes. No, it was 5 or 6 minutes. Then he came back, and he was holding Prabhupada's original first canto, 3 volumes printed in Delhi. He said the author himself came here, and I purchased these from him. And I said, "Well, look, it's only the first canto. You need to get the whole set." So I convinced him. So he took the whole set. I signed him up. And when I went out of that library, I was thinking, oh my God, I've just distributed books to the same person that Prabhupada distributed books to. So when we were finished distributing all over Kashmir, we wanted to go back to see Prabhupada. So there we are now in his private rooms in Krishna Balaram Mandir. And I said to him, "We just came back from distributing books in Kashmir." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, I went to Kashmir before I went to America." See, this is what you don't know. So I said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada, I met that librarian, and he now took the full set of your books." It was like a real connection with Prabhupada. And when we were driving there, you go from Jammu to Kashmir, and it's up in the Himalayas. So you go through this long tunnel, And when you come out of the tunnel, you're in Kashmir, and the first thing you see is the Kashmir Valley. It's like an amazing, and you just go, wow. So when I told Prabhupada, I was speaking to them, then he said, do you remember coming out of the tunnel? And his eyes opened wide as if he was seeing it again. And I thought, wow, he also had that wow experience. So he had tried to accomplish the impossible mission. First he went to a Muslim area to distribute the Lord Chaitanya's teachings, his mission, and then to America, the Western countries. And he began only by chanting the holy names. Because Lord Chaitanya's mission, the foundation of Lord Chaitanya's mission is based on two shlokas. Number one, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, 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 Gatiranyata. And Lord Chaitanya quoted this from the Brihad Naradiya Purana. So you see, Narada Muni, he had approached Lord Brahma. And Brahma was very happy to see him. Naradaji, welcome. So nice to see you. Yes, I've come because I need guidance from you. What is that? You have a question? Yes, I have a question. What is your question? Well, you know, I'm traveling all over the universe, and I meet so many people, and I'm trying to give them Bhagavad Gita, trying to tell them who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they all have different ideas who is Bhagavan. So I was thinking, let me come to you, because you were there before the Srishti, before the creation. You were empowered as a secondary creator. So if anybody knows who is the Supreme Lord, it's you. And that's why I've come. You please tell me, who actually is the Supreme Lord? So Lord Brahma was very pleased. What a wonderful question. Thank you so much. And here's my answer. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So Narada Muni was so blissful. Wow. Sri Krishna Govinda is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is amazing. And he's dancing in ecstasy. Thank you so much. And Lord Brahma was so pleased to see the reaction of Narada Muni. So he said, now you can travel and you can explain that everyone should worship Govinda and that you heard it directly from me. So now you are satisfied? So Narada Muni said, almost. I do have one more question. What is that question? He said, now that we know who is the Supreme Lord, how do we connect with him? How do we establish a relationship with him? Lord Brahma was so pleased. Wow, that's a wonderful question. I'm so happy to hear this question. Listen carefully. The process to re-establish our relationship with the Lord is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, 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 Gatiranyata. Just chant the holy names. There is no other way. Everybody know this shloka? How many times is the holy name emphasized in the shloka? 3. It's actually 8. Let me go through them. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Eva. Eva means certainly. Certainly means 100% guarantee. Is that an emphasis? Okay, that's 4. Kevalam. Kevalam means only. Only means just this, everything else rejected. Is that an emphasis? 5. Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. No other way, no other way, no other way. 8 times in one shloka of 11 words. So Narada Muni took that very seriously. And he was ecstatic. He was blissful. Thank you so much. Now I can really preach. I can travel all over the world and just distribute the holy name of the Lord. So Lord Brahma said, I'm so happy to see you and that you are so appreciative. Please, I bless you to go. Now you are satisfied. And Narada Muni said, well, actually, I do have one more question. What is that question? He said, what are the qualifications of the people? What qualification do they require in order to chant this holy name? Lord Brahma said, oh, this is a wonderful question. You're very deep. You're very thoughtful, Narada. He said, there is no qualification. Whether you're man or woman, Brahmana or Shudra, sannyasi or grihasta, you're black or white, or whatever religion you are. It doesn't matter, whatever your caste or creed. Anybody and everybody, even the animals, are qualified to hear and chant the holy names. So Narada was ecstatic. This is amazing. Now I can go all over the universe and spread the teachings that you have given me and spread the holy name everywhere. So Lord Brahma was so happy. He said, now you are satisfied. And Narada Muni said, well, actually, I have one more question. What is that question? Are there any rules and regulations that we have to follow? And Lord Brahma said, there's no hard and fast rules. Anybody can chant in any condition of life, whether one is a sinner or a saint, a believer or a disbeliever. If you understand or you don't understand, no hard and fast rules. Anybody can chant and reestablish their loving relationship. So Narada Muni was in ecstasy. Now sometimes we hear in ISKCON there's no hard and fast rules, but there's some slow and soft rules. But I'm going to take the word of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Brahma. I'm not going to interpret the Shastra. So then Narada Muni, he went off traveling around the universe spreading this teaching everywhere. And then one day, while flying, how does he go? Flies, I guess is the right word. He saw a place that he'd never seen before. It was the most beautiful, enchanting place. So he came down, and he landed there. Wow, what is this realm? It's gorgeous, it's unbelievable. And then the inhabitants saw him, they came forward to see him, and he noticed they were all very beautiful, but each and every one of them had some handicap. They were deformed in some way. So when they approached him and asked him, who are you? Why are you here? My name's Narada Muni. I travel around the universe spreading the glories of the holy name. Who are you? We're the ragas and raginis. You see, the melodies, the ragas and raginis, there's male melodies and female melodies. They're not just tunes, they're personalities. And Narada Muni asked him, well, you're all so very beautiful, but each and every one of you has some deformity. What happened? What is that? And they said, when people sing our melodies wrong, it causes us great pain. That's why we become deformed. And Narada Muni said, oh my God, have I done that? They said, yes, you too. How can I absolve myself of this great sin? They recommended you should go to Mother Saraswati and learn from her how to properly sing the ragas and raginis and intone these melodies properly with care and attention, full focus and concentration from the heart. So he went to Mother Saraswati, and Mother Saraswati trained him up how to chant the holy names correctly. Because in every endeavor, there's a right way and a wrong way to do anything. If you do it the right way, you get the result. If you do it the wrong way, you don't get the result. Is that logical? Is that fair? Of course. Why should I, who does it wrong, get the same benefit as Vaikuntanath, who does it right? Then I would have a cheating mentality. So Narada Muni learned how to chant ecstatically. And word came back to Goloka Vrindavan. And Radha and Krishna desired to hear Narada Muni chanting after having been trained by Saraswati. So he went to see them. And they requested him, you please chant for us. We're very desirous to hear your melodious chanting. And so he began singing directly from his heart with as much love and devotion as he could. And Radha and Krishna became overwhelmed in ecstasy. They became so overwhelmed in ecstasy that they melted into the causal ocean. And when Vaman Avatar took 3 steps, and his second step, he kicked a hole in the universe, and that water came out, which we call Ganga, that's actually Radha and Krishna melted from hearing the ecstatic kirtan of Narada Muni. So this kirtan is very powerful when we do it correctly. And as we heard on this morning in the video, that number 1, it has to be authorized. So we have been authorized. We've all taken shelter of the parampara. We've all taken shelter of the teachings of Guru and Gauranga. So we're authorized to spread this kirtan to every town and village. And if we do it correctly, we'll be empowered by Krishna. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahitar Pravartan. Without being empowered by Krishna, you can't present anything. And this is explained in chapter 15, verse 15 of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matas mrityir jnanam apohanam cha. That I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me, within the heart, comes knowledge, comes your understanding, comes your remembrance. But if you're not interested, if you're after something else, then I cover you with my Apohan Shakti, and you don't have spiritual knowledge. You don't have remembrance that you're spirit soul, that you're the servant of the servant, that you're my eternal servitor, but you think that you're the enjoyer independently of me. So by chanting the holy name authorizedly, so we qualify there, and then Prabhupada said with feeling in the film. So this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, verse 10, chapter 10. Tesham satata yuktaram, anyone who chants the holy names, that's us, continuously, we still qualify because every day we're chanting, every day, every week, every month, every year, our whole life, that's satatam, continuously. So we qualify. Bhajatam, as worship, we still qualify. We're worshiping the Lord. Priti Purvakam, with complete love. Oops. Do we still qualify? Where is the love there? Is the feeling there? And Krishna says, if you do that, if you chant the holy names with devotion, Priti Purvakam, with full love, then Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, I will give you from within the heart the intelligence of pure yoga, pure devotional service. Yena mam upayanti te, so you can come to me. Krishna wants you to come to him. The problem is, we're not so convinced we want to go to him. And we're always tested. We're tested. Now, there's two testers. Is that the right word? People who test you, are they called testers? There's Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Mahamaya teaches those who are not on the path, who are yet to come to the path. And then Mahamaya teaches those who are on the path. She gives obstacles, she gives tests to see, do you really want Krishna? How about winning the lottery? How about the most beautiful wife? How about the super rich husband? Whatever. What do you really want? And why, someone may ask, we've come, we've surrendered, why are we being tested? Why is Yogamaya putting obstacle after obstacle after obstacle in front of us? And there's two reasons. The first reason is that every obstacle we overcome, we become more dedicated, more strong, more committed, more convinced that we're on the right track. And the second reason is because she doesn't want another Putana to approach Krishna, falsely coming with devotion, but actually they have their own private agenda. So we're always being tested. So Srila Prabhupada understood all these things, and he taught us all these things. And so the foundation of Lord Chaitanya's mission was chanting the holy names of the Lord, and the foundation of Prabhupada's mission was chanting the holy names of the Lord. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, the supreme conqueror of illusion, is the holy name of the Lord, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So anyone can chant. There's no hard and fast rules, but we have to do it properly. That means we have to follow the 10 benedictions. If you don't follow the 10 benedictions, you're doing it wrong. So some of you may not know what the 10 benedictions are. But the 10 benedictions, when you take the 10 offenses and turn them to a positive, that's the 10 benedictions. Because the 10 offenses are negatives. So the first benediction is to always glorify the persons who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. The second benediction is to always glorify the name of Sri Krishna, not consider the names of Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva to be equal. The third benediction is to always follow the instructions of Guru. All the way up to the 10th benediction, which is to chant with care and attention and to not have any attachment to material sense gratification. So I remember many years ago reading one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's pamphlets that he wrote in English, that the 10th offense, which is to maintain material attachments and to be inattentive while chanting, he said that offense is the cause of all the other offenses. That if we can chant with full focus and attention and give up attachment for material things, the holy name will act and purify our heart so that we become purified devotees. And as purified devotees, you don't commit offenses. So all we have to really do is guard against this one offense. Chant with care and attention. And if we do that, we will get the result. Now, how many people have had this experience? You're chanting your japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, and all of a sudden, you come to the end of the round. You're at the Krishna beat. And you can't quite remember. I can't quite remember how I got there. Anybody ever had that experience? Why can't you remember? The reason you can't remember is the definition of remembering. The definition of remembering is that something first was heard and went inside, and now you can bring it out. Because when you think, you can't hear. When you think, you cannot hear. Therefore, when we start thinking during our chanting, we don't hear the mantra, and that's why we don't remember how we got to the end of the round. So now we're faced with a dilemma. What do we do now? Do we chant that round over again, more attentive, more focused, or do I count it as a round chanted? For a long time, I used to count it as a round chanted. So then I began to realize that either I'm controlling my mind or my mind is controlling me. I also began to realize everybody loves to make new devotees. Am I right? The most important devotee you can make is your own mind. Because when your mind becomes a devotee, when your mind becomes a Vaishnava, when your mind wants to chant Hare Krishna, when your mind always wants to only think of Krishna, it's easy to be a Vaishnava. But when your mind is not interested in these things, it's a struggle to be a Vaishnava. So from this we can understand that I am different than my mind. I want to become a Vaishnava and my mind does not. And the only cure is chanting the Mahamantra, chanting Hare Krishna. And there's no hard and fast rules to the chanting. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, he put his full faith in the chanting. Our whole morning program begins with chanting. We chant the Guruvastakam. Then we chant in Kirtan. The next Kirtan is the Nrsingadev prayers. Then the next Kirtan is the Tulsi Arti Kirtan. Now, after doing 3 Kirtans, we sit down to chant Japa because now the mind is accustomed to hearing the holy name. If we've given our full concentration with care and attention. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So during this very short kirtan, was anybody having thoughts coming to their mind? Because Shravanam means hearing with full concentration. You know, there's Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam. Of these 3, which is the most important? One by one. Someone says Kirtanam. Someone else says Shravanam. Well, the answer is Shravanam is the most important thing, because if the Shravanam is bad, can the Kirtanam be good? So Kirtanam is dependent on Shravanam. Shravanam is the prerequisite to good Kirtan. So the holy name, we receive the holy name in 3 phases. We either get the Pratibimbanam, or we get the Chayanam, or we get the Shuddhanam. The Pratibimbanam is the reflection of the holy name. The Chayanam is just the shadow of the holy name. But what we really want is the pure holy name. So, to make this clear, I give the analogy of a mango tree on the bank of a lake. When you look at the reflection of the mango tree in the lake, you'll see the mangoes there. But when you go for that mango, you just get all wet. On the bank, you see the shadow of the tree, and you see the shadow of the mango on the tree. And if you go for that mango, all you get is sand. So you want the real mango, you have to climb the tree and get the real mango. So Prabhupada taught us, nothing good comes easy. The bad comes easy. Nothing good comes easy. To get the good, we have to endeavor for it. We have to expend some energy. We have to climb the tree to get the real mango. And we have to chant without offenses. So I already went over the 10 offenses. And the solution to the 10 offenses is the 10th offense. If we solve the problem of the 10th offense, we solve all the other problems. When we do this, we no longer commit offenses, nor do we have any difficulty with the 4 regulative principles, because we're situated in transcendence. We're no longer attracted to those things. No longer do I listen to the radio, do I watch TV, do I do any of the things that I used to do. Not interested. Not interested in anything else except Harinama, Harinama, Eva Kevalam. And where do we chant? And whom do we chant to? Well, in that darshan that I had with Srila Prabhupada, at the beginning I told you, I didn't tell you everything. There's one other thing he told me. At the end of the darshan, he said, so, wherever you go, and whomsoever you meet, you share with them the teachings you received from me, and you share with them. They will be benefited, and you will be benefited also, on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he used the word share. And so from that time on, 1976, I preferred the word sharing over the word preaching. Because preaching means teaching. And teaching is fine, but you're the teacher, they're the student. Sharing is a different idea. It's a different conception. Sharing means I'm going to share what I have learned, and you share with me what you have learned. We're all on the same platform. We're all equals. We're sharing because we care. And so I've traveled everywhere to share this kirtan. Just yesterday evening, after the program at 8:30, I went to Santa Monica to a yoga center, and I shared kirtan there with people who are not Vaishnavas, who are from other traditions, yoga traditions, Mayavad traditions, Shunyavad traditions. But all we did for 2.5 hours was to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and they were blissful and ecstatic. They loved it. A few weeks ago, we chanted in a library in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. They had rented out this very large library in this town. They invited people from all walks of life to come, and we did our kirtan. We've done kirtan in universities. I did a kirtan at the College of Nursing in Lisbon, Portugal. And before I did the kirtan, I explained to them that the nurse is the most important person in the healing process. Because the doctor, he just checks in very infrequently. How you doing? Check, check, check. Okay, great. The hospital, all you get from them is a bill. But the nurse cares. And I explained to them what I learned from Srila Prabhupada, that there can be no healing without love. There can be no healing without love. And the nurse can give love, and therefore the patient becomes healed. Therefore, you are the most important person. And then I spoke about how the holy name purifies the heart so that divine love can become manifested, because the holy name extinguishes all those negative things in there that's residing in our heart, like anger, lust, greed, envy, all these things. So then we got all these nurses chanting, they got up to dance and the whole thing. Even in the Indian embassies, we do these programs. In the Madrid, Spain, Indian embassy, they had a function. They're called cultural functions. The Indian embassy likes to present cultural presentations of India. So they had us come. I guess they thought it was nice for Westerners to present the culture. Look, it's not just us promoting it, it's them. And they invited all the people from the other missions, from all the different embassies in Madrid. And we had a wonderful evening. We have our Radha Damodar deities. Wherever we go, they go with us. So we set up our Radha Damodar. And at the end of the program, they wanted to, they prepare prasad, which is the Indian tradition. So my wife Kishori said, well, you can offer everything to Radha Damodar. So they offered everything to Radha Damodar, and then everyone took prasad. And when we went to, at the end of the program, to put the deities, to take them back with us, we noticed there was a little crumb of halava on Damodar's lip. So we thought, oh, he really tasted that prasad. He's letting us know. And then the ambassador, who was a lady, she came up to thank us. It was a wonderful program. And my wife said, we go to India regularly, and I would like to get a 5-year visa instead of just a 6-month visa, which is the only thing they give us in our country. She said, oh, just come by tomorrow. So we came by to the embassy tomorrow, and she got her 5-year visa. So we do these programs everywhere, in Muslim countries, in Christian countries, universities, even in Singapore, where Hare Krishna is banned. Oh yeah. You have to take your neck beads off when you go into Singapore. One time Lokanath Maharaj, he had gone and he had dressed up as a non-devotee, but they saw his neck beads. So after he had gone through immigration, they followed him, and he went into the toilet, the bathroom. So one man followed him, and the man said, Hare Krishna, and Lokanath Maharaj said, Hari Bol. Aha! So they got rid of him. So we knew, having heard that story, we're very careful when we go in. But there's the local Singaporean devotees who are chanting there and who are doing Harinam Sankirtan, but they can't do it in the streets, but they can do it inside. They have a Rath Yatra there also in Singapore, and what they do is they rent the stadium where they have sports, and then the Rath Yatra goes around the track outside the stadium, and all the devotees are in the stands. So I've also done in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, not Dubai. Dubai we did another program, but in Abu Dhabi we had another Rath Yatra festival. It was in a big hall, in this big building, and they had a little Rath Yatra cart that went around the hall. You can't do these things outside, but still these things are going on. So we're chanting the holy names everywhere, and sometimes we feel that some people are chanting that are unauthorized. But I recall in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, it was an eclipse, and all the Hindus were in the Ganga chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Rama Hare, to counteract the negative effects of Rahu. And the Muslims would walk by and joke, Haram, Haram. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states they chanted the holy name. They got a benefit. It was a reflection of the holy name, but it's better than no reflection. But for us, reflection is not good enough when we've been given the pure Shuddha Nam. For us, the shadow of the holy name is not good enough because we've been given the Shuddha Nam. So one other thing that when we travel and to different festivals and yoga centers and what have you that are of Vaishnava, they're chanting, but they manufacture their own, what they call mantras. But I explain that the meaning of a mantra is that it's descended from the spiritual realm. It exists eternally. You can't manufacture a mantra because it would just be another mundane sound vibration. Just like we don't chant Coca-Cola, 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 Cola. You don't get any benefit. But when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna is dancing on our tongue. And we're connected to that eternal, spiritual, blissful energy. And this is what I explained to them yesterday, that there's two natures, and all that we're taught, all that knowledge we're given is only about the material nature, but the spiritual nature is Sat Chit Ananda. It's eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. And we live in a world that's asat, temporary, achit, full of ignorance. We come across it every day, right? And nirananda, full of stress and anxiety. So I said to them, who wants to be free of stress and anxiety? Everybody raises their hands. So this mantra has descended from the spiritual realm. It has all the qualities of Sat Chit Ananda. And by associating with that mantra, you begin to take on the qualities of Sat Chit Ananda, and all the negative things disintegrate, are extinguished within the heart, and that pure divine love that is in everyone's heart becomes manifest, and everything you see with a different perspective. You see with a spiritual perspective, and everything you see and hear and speak is through the eyes, heart, and ears of divine love. So I asked them, how many people want this? They all raised their hand. So let's chant this mantra. So for 2.5 hours we chanted Mahamantra. Now we know it is the Mahamantra, but not everyone considers it the Mahamantra. It's generally accepted as a Mahamantra, but there are some Vaishnavas who consider it the Prema Mantra. This is actually the Prema Mantra. Because Lord Chaitanya broke open the storehouse of Krishna Prema and he distributed it freely to everyone by infusing the mantra with Krishna Prema so that anybody in Kali Yuga could experience Krishna Prema. So sometimes people say to me, how did Lord Chaitanya put the prema into the mantra? And I respond the same way that the cook puts the sabji in the samosa. Just by looking at it, just by touching it, you can't know what's inside. You have to bite into it. We have to bite into this mantra. We have to taste it. We have to experience it. We have to feel it, heart and soul. We have to close our eyes. This is another thing I ask people, how many people, when I go to these non-Vaishnava places, how many people do silent meditation? Everybody raises their hand. Then I ask, how many people have difficulty with the mind, so many thoughts coming while you're doing silent meditation? Everybody raises their hand. Then I say, well, here's the good news. When you sing, you can't think. When you sing, you can't think. It's impossible. Therefore, we're going to sing these mantras. And I explained that previous to Lord Chaitanya, people would chant the mantras as japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Lord Chaitanya introduced song. He introduced dance. He introduced melody. He introduced instruments. He introduced rhythm. And then he said, now it's a different mantra. Now it's for everyone, regardless of caste or creed. Well, the Brahmanas didn't like that at all. So they decided, we got to stop this Nimai Pandit. So they went to the Qazi. And they said, there's difficulty now. We want to enlighten you what's actually happening in the town of Navadvip. This upstart Nimai Pandit, he's taking a sacred mantra that is meant to be only intoned within the precincts of the sacred temple by qualified, purified brahmanas. And he's distributing it indiscriminately to the riffraff. This is adharma. And we know that you're a very religious man, Chankazi. And then the second point was that once this riffraff experiences this, they're going to want more and more freedom, and there's going to be more and more disturbance in the community. So the last thing that a magistrate wants is more disturbance. It's already enough. She said, okay, I get your point, no problem. I will pass an ordinance. From now on, this Kirtan singing of the mantra will be illegal. And so it was. Of course, we all know the story. But the point that I'm making is that Lord Chaitanya, he took the mantra, made it the Prema mantra, infused it with Krishna Prema, added song, dance, melody, rhythm, and music, so the mind would be attracted, and that you wouldn't be able to think, and you could focus and get the full benefit. Now it's for everybody. Then I do a kirtan with them. Then we have a fantastic kirtan, and then what we do is we bring the kirtan quieter and quieter and slower at the end, and we go into silent meditation. Because when you do that, you can feel the vibration and the energy of the holy names coursing through your being. And the more powerful the kirtan, the more you feel that energy. And then after several minutes of silence, I asked them, have you felt any energy? They all feel it. Then I ask, well, did anybody have any thoughts come to your mind? Were you thinking different things during that kirtan? And people raised their hands, yes. And I say, well, when you sing, you can't think, which means that you were thinking when I was singing. During the Shravanam part, you were singing. So you're now doing the Kirtanam right, but you're doing the Shravanam wrong. And then another thing I say to them, we all do this. You come into the yoga center and you see someone like this, and you're very quiet and you think, oh, they're meditating. But I explained that meditation means focus and concentration on one thing only. And if there's many thoughts coming to your mind, I say that actually that's not called meditation. That has another name. And I say, that's called thinking. And thinking is not a yogic process. And they get it. Because they're all doing silent meditation. And they're good at the meditation. So I use that meditation conception. And I explain to them, what is kirtan? So, you probably know more and better than me what is kirtan. But if you allow me, I will share my understanding of what is kirtan. Is that okay? We have 15 minutes. Okay, so I shouldn't make these points? Okay. So I explained to them what kirtan really is. That there's a singer who from his heart, he chants the holy name and he sends that sacred sound vibration to the audience, who we call the mantra choir. And you, as the mantra choir, you receive that sacred sound vibration, enters into your ears and into your heart. And then from your heart, you all sing that sacred sound, that vibration that comes to me. And I hear your vibration enters into my heart. And then from my heart, again, I chant the holy sacred sound to your heart. And then you chant back to me. And this way, we chant back and forth, heart to heart, soul to soul. And in this way, we have unity connected to the Supreme. So, and I explained that is what kirtan is. That's what I say to them. What I say to the Vaishnavas is a little different. What is kirtan? To the Vaishnavas, what I say is this, that in the Ras Leela, for example, the gopis are dancing with Krishna, and each gopi has Krishna. And she's seeing that only she has Krishna. And she's dancing and she has Krishna, singing and dancing in ecstasy. And each gopi has Krishna. So kirtan is our representation of Ras Leela. Each one of us has Krishna because Krishna is the holy name. So we have the holy name, we have Krishna, and we're singing and dancing with Krishna. So the kirtan is our Ras Leela, and the more we get into it, the more we experience transcendence. And Prabhupada stated in the introduction, I think it was, to the Vaishnava songbook, that the safest place in the material world is in the middle of the kirtan rasa, because it's rasa lila. In the middle of the kirtan rasa is the safest place in the material world. One time Prabhupada was asked, because there was talk of the Third World War. So what do we do if they drop the bombs? So Prabhupada said, you all come to the temple, start the Kirtan, finish in Vaikuntha. Okay, so are there any questions? I'll take if there are any.
Raise your hand if you have a question. Chandrasekhar?
Thank you, Prabhu. From a philosophical point of view, can you clarify or harmonize two apparently contradicting concepts? On the one hand, the idea that the holy name comes in parampara, and what's not received in parampara is like milk touched by the lips of a serpent, and so on. And on the other hand, we also see explicit statements in Shastra to the effect that the holy name can never be contaminated, the holy name is eternally pure, non-different from the Supreme Lord, and so on. So could you kindly harmonize those two concepts, especially in the context of outreach or sharing?
Okay, so first I'll give a Prabhupada Leela. When in 1975 in Dallas, Prabhupada came to Dallas and the Gurukula was there. And in one morning walk, he was speaking to Satsvarup, who was heading up that Gurukula there. You should train the children very nicely. They should grow up and become Vaishnavas. And you must ensure that every girl gets a husband. And then Tamal Krishna spoke up and he said, but Srila Prabhupada, in Atlanta, you said that every brahmachari should remain brahmachari and not get married. And Prabhupada laughed and he said, this is one of the contradictions of our philosophy. So, how to harmonize? Well, Lord Chaitanya distributed the holy name indiscriminately. So we could say that since the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have a new covenant. He changed the rules. He broke open the storehouse of love of God. He put Krishna Prema in the mantra and he asked anybody and everybody to chant it and they would get a benefit. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent means that the holy name has to be intoned by a serpent. Does it not mean that? By an envious snake type of person. So such a person won't have good effect. Because the aparad will wipe out whatever benefit comes from the chanting the holy name. That's it. So whatever benefits we get from chanting the holy names can be wiped out by aparad. There's Nam aparad, there's Dham aparad, Vaishnava aparad. There are so many aparads. We have to be very careful not to commit these offenses because they block or stop or neutralize the benefit of chanting the holy name. And I can give another example for the holy Dham. We live in Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan, every devotional service you do is magnified 1,000 times. Now, if you perform Nirjal Ekadasi, you get a benefit of 1,000 Ekadasis. But if you do that in the holy Dham, 1,000 times 1,000, you get 1,000,000 times the benefit. But similarly, if you commit an offense in the holy Dham, that's also magnified 1,000 times. So we have to understand things in perspective. Did I give a proper answer? Satisfactory? Thank you. Yes.
Oh, before Vaikuntha, I just wanted to introduce Kishori. Vyasaki's wife and traveling partner, and really the person that makes the contacts with all these different yoga groups and different places. Stand up for a second, just introduce yourself. She's been an amazing facilitator for spreading Krishna consciousness in all these 76 countries that you've visited in the past 11 years. Kishore Devi.
Well, since Nrsingananda has brought this up, I might make one point in this connection. Sometimes we hear that we should give up the association of family. But I just want to share with you that since Kishore and I got married, my devotional service has skyrocketed. For me to give up that would be extremely foolish. And then I'd come back down to the platform I was at before. So my devotional service has expanded unlimitedly. Plus, the Shastra says never, ever to give up the association of Vaishnavas. And she is a wonderful Vaishnava, and I'm learning from her regularly. Hare Krishna.
Well, let me begin by first thanking you for acknowledging your wife in such a nice way. We wish to see that more often among the devotees. I just want to make maybe an additional point to your answer to Chandrasekhar. I'm not sure if Prabhupada directly explained it that way. My understanding was that it's really, whether it's pure or not pure because some other people chant it, is really the intention. So in other words, the Mahamantra, it's like we carry it in a vessel. So he also said that the Mayavadis chant Hare Krishna, but they never get the benefit because they actually don't believe that Krishna is God and all those things. So the intention in which the Mahamantra is carried is what determines. It's never really contaminated, it's always pure, but your intention can make it pure or not pure in that sense. That was my understanding.
Can I make a comment on what you just said? When I preached in Bangladesh for 3 years, and one thing I noticed in Bangladesh was that the Mayavadis, they all chanted Hare Krishna, and all of their ashrams were thriving. But they chanted Hare Krishna to merge, but yet they were getting a tremendous benefit. And the Gaudiya Math, who were doing the Parampara Kirtan, was struggling. They weren't getting any benefit. They were renting out the ashram rooms to students at the university because they didn't have any people interested to join the mission. So that was a little unusual because I was expecting the opposite. Not only that, but the Mayavadis, they chant the Mahamantra and they do not chant first the Panchatantra mantra. The Panchatantra mantra is chanted by the Gaudiya Math, but they were struggling. And these Mayavadi ashrams were doing well. So I could see that when we say they don't get any benefit, that's not 100%. Also, because I traveled all to yoga studios and chant with Mayavadis, not just innocent people, but Mayavadis, all over so many different countries. And I see the difference between now and a few decades before. Now everyone's chanting Mahamantra. Everyone's enjoying this chanting more than the other mantras. And everyone acknowledges that they get the most bliss from this mantra. So they are getting a benefit. They are getting a benefit. And they're chanting more and more and experiencing something that's encouraging them to continue chanting more and more. We experienced that last night, for example. So, intention. Intention means what is our motivation. So in 1968, two devotees joined the San Francisco temple who turned out to be two of the most influential devotees in our movement. That was Tamal Krishna and Vishnujan Swami. So one morning, Bhakta Thomas, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he asked Srila Prabhupada, they were doing a morning walk around Stowe Lake, he said, how many pure devotees are there in our movement? So Srila Prabhupada turned to the president of the LA temple, Anibuddha. He said, how many initiated devotees do we have now in our ISKCON movement? So he said, well, New York, Boston, Montreal, San Francisco, about 75. So Prabhupada turned to Tamal and said, there are 75 pure devotees. And he explained, because they're purely motivated. They're performing devotional service, they're purely motivated, so they're pure, doing pure devotional service. They're not the Uttama Adhikari pure devotee, they may be the Kanishta pure devotee, but they're still on the right side of the line. Hare Krishna. One last question. Is there time?
Yeah, there's time. We have 1.5 minutes.
I think I'll take half a minute. Thank you, Prabhuji. You gave a very beautiful analogy of shadow and reflection and the real fruit. But sometimes a person cannot achieve the real fruit, or till the person can achieve the real fruit, can shadow or reflection also be useful? Why I am asking this question is, we have the example of Rishi Balmiki, who initially was not able to chant Ram, Ram, Ram.
So he chanted
He was
Mara,
chanting
Mara,
Mara, Mara, Mara.
Yeah, right.
And it became Ram, Ram, Ram.
Right.
And where he reached, we all know. So till one can achieve that height of reaching the fruit, whatever one can do, whether reflection or shadow, or even if, say, sometimes we say that when we chant, the mind should be pure. But even if the mind is not pure at that time, the chanting can purify it.
So the answer is this,
Yeah.
that nobody comes to the mission, nobody comes to the bhakti yoga path, to the chanting of the holy name, nobody comes already pure. Everyone's coming with bag and baggage. So in the beginning we're all chanting Pratibimba Nam, we're all chanting Chaya Nam. But if after 40 years you're still on the same platform, that's not very good. That's not very good. If we're still on square one after so many years, maybe it's a disgrace. Maybe we're not doing our best. And I believe that we should do our best for Krishna, that Krishna is worth doing our best for. If anybody's worth that we should do our best, we should do our best for Krishna. So we want to strive to improve. So I came up with this idea that at night, before taking rest, I'd say, heart-to-heart talk to Krishna, because we have to speak to Krishna. You can't say Krishna's my best friend if I never speak to him. So I would say, today I did some devotional service, but I could have done better. Tomorrow I will do better. And then the next night I say, today I tried to do some devotional service, but I know I can do better. Tomorrow I'll do better. So every night you try to do better. You try to improve what you've done tonight. Today, you do better tomorrow. So every day we're always striving to improve. so that we can taste the pure holy name. Because the Shastra says that if you just once chant the holy name of the Lord without offenses, you can get Krishna Prem. Has anybody heard that, read that? So we should strive for that. And when Lord Chaitanya was asked by Satyaraj Khan, when the Bengali devotees would return to Bengal after Rath Yatra, there was a big darshan. People would ask questions. So Satyaraj Khan asked about chanting of the holy name. What about a person who won't, rarely chants? Or maybe rarely gets the Shuddha Nam. And Lord Chaitanya said, any person who chants even one time the holy name of the Lord in his whole life, I offer my Dandavat Pranams at his feet. That's Lord Chaitanya. Should we follow Lord Chaitanya? Should we have the same perspective? Anyone who chants the holy name of the Lord, they're worthy of our Dandavat Pranams. So we're not the judges, we're the servants. Das, 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 under das, we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. We should always strive for that position because that's our eternal constitutional position. And when we're not in our eternal constitutional position, there's a word for that. There's a Sanskrit word for that. Who knows that word? Maya, exactly. So you're either in your constitutional position as a servant or you're not. You're still in illusion. Is that clear? Thank you very much.
We want to thank His Grace Vaiyasaki Prabhu. And I'd like to request that will you be available throughout the day if people have questions they'd like to ask you during the day?
Yeah.
That's very nice. So that's.
I also have Prabhupada memories from Los Angeles.
Right. So that's going to be a little bit 12 o'clock or a little bit after now, but we must move on to our next guest. And again, we want to offer our grateful appreciation of his experiences and his wife and his efforts in spreading Krishna consciousness. His Grace Vaiyasaki Prabhu Ki. And now I'd like to introduce His Holiness Giriraj Swami, who really needs no